se prepara ante posible éxodo masivo y crisis humanitaria en Cuba. El jefe del Comando Sur de Estados Unidos, general Francis L. Donovan, declaró este jueves que Estados Unidos mantiene planes de contingencia para gestionar un éxodo masivo y una crisis humanitaria en Cuba. Tenemos una orden de apoyar al Departamento de Seguridad Nacional, ya sea por mar o tierra, principalmente en la base naval de Guantánamo, donde instalaremos campamento para tratar con esos migrantes, dijo Donovan durante una comparecencia ante el Comité de Servicios Armados del Senado. En este punto, vale apuntar que Cuba atraviesa una severa crisis económica y energética que algunos analistas describen como peor que el período especial, exacerbada por la presión energética estadounidense. Asimismo, en cuanto a la retórica sobre una posible intervención, con menciones a liberar la isla, el general negó cualquier intención de acción militar, a la vez que reconoció que Estados Unidos mantiene planes de contingencia para distintos escenarios como parte de su estrategia global y una emergencia nacional declarada por la administración Trump, según medios. Donovan también destacó que otra de sus misiones es garantizar la seguridad de la Embajada de Estados Unidos en La Habana, en coordinación constante con el personal diplomático. Según explicó, el Comando Sur mantiene comunicación frecuente con la sede diplomática y ha recibido recientemente al jefe de misión en Cuba, Mike Hammer. Las declaraciones se producen en un contexto de creciente presión política sobre el régimen cubano, marcada por la crisis económica, apagones prolongados y un aumento de las protestas en distintas partes del país. Aunque desde Washington se ha incrementado el discurso crítico hacia La Habana, las palabras de Donovan dejan claro que, por ahora, no está sobre la mesa una intervención militar, aunque sí existe preparación ante posibles escenarios derivados de la inestabilidad en la isla.
General Donovan, now we're hearing President Trump make several comments about his intent to remove from power the current president of Cuba, to own Cuba. And while both Cuba and Venezuela are repressive regimes, and I don't have any sympathy for their leadership, they pose no immediate threat to the United States. So I'm going to ask you very directly, are we currently conducting any military rehearsals that involve seizing, occupying, or otherwise asserting control over Cuba?
Senator, U.S. Southern Command is not.
Thank you.
Service. General Donovan, I want to turn to the question of Cuba. I understand that you may not be actively rehearsing an invasion of Cuba, but surely we have plans to deal with any contingency related to Cuba. I mean, there's a vast cadre, thousands of majors and colonels just sitting around the Pentagon making plans for every possible contingency in the world. It'd be a mass unemployment event if we didn't have plans for every potential crisis around the world. So I want to ask specifically about one potential crisis, given the state of play in Cuba, which has never been able to stand on its own 2 feet. It relied for 30 years on support from Soviet Russia, and then it was wobbly in the 1990s until Chavez's Venezuela came to the rescue and supported it for the last 30 years. Are we prepared for any kind of humanitarian crisis in Cuba, the possible flow of refugees or other civil disorder that may threaten our interests, especially if the decrepit, corrupt Castro regime finally falls or flees?
Senator, yes, we are. Southcom, our core task, we have an execute order to be prepared to support DHS in a mass migration event. They would take the lead. We would follow either at sea or primarily ashore at Guantanamo Bay, where we would set up a camp to deal with those migrants or any overflow from any situation in Cuba itself. Otherwise, my other core task is protect the embassy, which we are in contact with the embassy every single day. We had the CDA, the Charge d'Affaires Hammer, in my office about a week ago, and we talked about what he thought was going to happen in Cuba. And so we're very much aligned with the diplomats there. That's my responsibility. In Cuba, the responsibility I have is protecting the base and those families and U.S. Americans living on the eastern part of the island. So all those together, we're constantly watching. If asked to support a humanitarian event, that's what we do actually very well also. We are very strong in logistics, and we could move support and supplies if asked to do so.
Mientras tanto...